All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. The Milwaukee Bucks came into this NBA season with championship aspirations, but instead they might be preparing for an early off season. The Bucks were able to navigate their way to 49 wins during the regular season, but this is a team that is far from what a championship contender should look like. And I say this because you go back to the regular season. They fired Adrian Griffin, their head coach, after a 30-13 mark to begin the year. They've gone 19-20 since then, or to finish the regular season, rather, primarily with Doc Rivers as their head coach. And currently, you look at the Bucks, and this is a team that is simply reeling. Losing Giannis prior to the start of the playoffs with that calf injury was not good. Okay, and then late in the Game 3 loss yesterday to the Pacers, they lost All-Star guard Damian Lillard to a strained Achilles. So now Milwaukee is looking at the strong, and I mean very strong, possibility of not having Dame or Giannis for the pivotal Game 4. They're currently down 2-1 in this series. But honestly, aside from, being down 2-1 and, being without Giannis and possibly Dame now, Milwaukee's flaws that have been there front and center for everybody to see throughout the regular season are getting exposed even more in this one. Milwaukee has not been a good defensive team all season long. Indiana's taking advantage of that. Milwaukee has a problem defending the perimeter, and they have a problem defending speed. Look at what Indiana's doing to them. They're running circles around these guys, a veteran team at that. And then on top of that, the Bucks are older and they're not using their size advantage. You got Bobby Porter 6'10. You got Brooke Lopez 7 feet. You got Chris Middleton at 6'11. But all of them are playing, too much of the perimeter game. And if you go back to when Milwaukee won that championship back in 2021, when they came back and beat the Suns in the finals, they just, you know what? They just threw the game plan out of the window and said, you know what, the initial game plan that is. They said, you know what, we're going to go out there and play big man ball, and that's what we did, or what they did rather. You look at it, that Bucks team much better defensively. They use the size and strength advantages that they had, and of course, the rest is history. But right now, Chris Middleton is dealing with injuries once again, and not having Giannis and not having Dame, especially since Milwaukee put so much in those guys. And of course, again, it's very difficult for any team, okay, to go out there and win without their two best players, regardless of the sport, especially in a playoff scenario. The Bucks find themselves with their backs against the wall for game number 4. Vets such as Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, even Pat Bev, they're going to have to step up, especially if Dame is not there as well. And you look at it honestly, Giannis really I really don't think Giannis is close to coming back right now. And for me with Giannis, if you're in Milwaukee, I think it's realistic if, and I mean somehow if, you're able to get past this series and then you get to take on the winner of the New York Philadelphia series in round number 2. And I think being realistic, I think the best case scenario for Milwaukee in that situation would be the series with the Pacers goes 7, and then maybe they can get Giannis back. But when you're talking about calf injuries and you're talking about Achilles injuries, especially with veteran players like Giannis and Dame are, because each of these guys has a lot of mileage on those legs, it's one of those where you can't just flick a switch and say, you know what, you guys are 100%. Those injuries take some time to heal, and let's just say, sake of argument, let's just say Giannis comes back in Game 5. Okay, how effective can we really expect him to be for this series? It's the same thing for Dame Lillard. At this point, you're not going to be fully healthy, so you got to manage your minutes and you utilize your bench if that's the case. Something that Doc Rivers has not done, historically throughout his head coaching career. This Pacers team, they're younger, they're fresher, and I think we're seeing it. We've really seen it in the last couple of games. Even Game 3, really. I mean, look at that furious comeback that Milwaukee had to have in the second half just to force overtime. Okay, so the Pacers have gotten their sea legs, so to speak, and they're going to run this older team, ragged if that's the case. So for me, you look at the Bucks, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again: Milwaukee misses Coach Bud. I don't care what anybody says. They pushed that panic button, after that surprising first round exit to Miami last year, and Giannis was hurt in that series again. This is a Bucks team that has really been hampered by injuries over the last couple of years. The Chris Middleton injury in the playoffs in 2022, and of course the Giannis injury last year. And again, they pushed the panic button last year. They fired Coach Bud, trading Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard. And no disrespect to Damian Lillard, but in bringing in Lillard, Milwaukee sacrificed their defense for their offense because Drew Holiday was a better and still is a better perimeter defender than Dame Lillard is, but Dame is a better scorer than Drew Holiday is, and Drew Holiday was a better facilitator of the basketball for that team than Dame Lillard is. So it's one of those where will the Bucks be able to find a way to pull something out? I'm not going to fully write them off, but it ain't looking good for Milwaukee right now. Um, if this was a situation where you would say, you know what, game four might be Tuesday night or even possibly Monday, yeah. But, the fact that it's Sunday and you really have that quick turnaround, I'm not sure, the odds are against Milwaukee. I think I see them going back home for game five down 3-1, and their backs are against the wall. It's one of those where it's gut check time. Okay. And guys got to step up. There's no other way to say it. But will the Bucks do it? I'm not betting on it. I'll tell you that much. As it's one of those for me, and I'll be honest. Once Milwaukee made the change from Adrian Griffin to Doc Rivers, I really didn't put that much stock personally in this team winning a championship or contending for a championship this season. I said that for several reasons. Number one, I don't believe Doc Rivers, coach team at this point in the postseason. They always find a way to come up short. On top of that, typically when you see a team make a head coaching change mid-season, generally an assistant coach is promoted. Somebody who's been there, somebody who's been with the guys, similar system, you name it. But it was a tough ask for everybody involved because you're bringing in a veteran coach in Doc Rivers who's trying to learn his players on the fly, and and it's the same thing for the players. They have a veteran head coach, but they've got to learn him and his system on the fly as well. It's a very tough situation. They really needed a training camp. And then on top of that, you've got a veteran team as well. So when it's all said and done, I think the Bucks at this point, if they find a way to pull this series win out, put me in the category of being surprised. I simply do not see it happening right now. Too many injuries, too much of a lack of cohesion, for the second half of the season by this team. And at the end of the day, I think the Bucks are getting ready to prep for summer vacation. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. And I'm signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.